Hello there. We seem to be debating the weather more than we are the football right now up here in the northeast. The rain and now the snow cancelling many fixtures across the weekend. But it takes more than a little bit of snow to stop us here on Football Matters, and seemingly takes more than a little bit of snow to stop Newcastle United too. Plenty to debate, plenty to analyse, plenty to react to here on the show tonight. I'm Andy Sixsmith, this is Football Matters. All of these festive gifts to give to you this evening. Plenty of games called off. The Premier League survived the latest bad weather, but from a northeast perspective, that was both a good and a bad thing for our region sides. All the analysis in the studio.
And thoroughly deserved the win. The substitutes obviously will get a lot of credit, but I thought Srnicek Bemba at centre-back was outstanding for 90 minutes. Easily his best performance in a Newcastle shirt. And it was a win that was hard-earned. It could have been a bit easier, I think, if they'd have put a 90-minute performance in, rather than just a half. But the players and the manager deserve a lot of credit.
December may bring snow, but it's also, of course, bringing Santa to town. We meet the Sunderland footballers who are all about giving and not receiving this Christmas. And we wrap up tonight's offerings with the best at last. We look back at and reveal November's goal of the month. So all of that and more to come in tonight's programme, but as ever, I can't do it all by myself. Now, Ollie might have dashed away for a bit of a festive break in Amsterdam, but I'm delighted to say we've replaced one Newcastle United folk hero with another in safe hands, Pavel Srnicek. Pavel, delighted to have you in the Football Matters studio, and you're joining two experts of punditry in Mark Carruthers and Tom Wade. Yes, Mark, we are including you in that alongside you. Gents, thank you very, very much for joining us in the studio. Pavel, just quickly, what have you been up to since those halcyon days in a Newcastle United shirt?
Obviously, I had a little break afterwards, and like everybody do, I think. And then come back to coaching, and at the moment I'm coaching 4 years already in Sparta Prague. So really happy with things, because Sparta Prague is the biggest club in Czech Republic, and you know, that's where you want to be, with the best. You know.
Well, you're with the best as well on this show. Not myself, these two sitting astride you. But we are going to start on Tyneside like we did last week, of course. Newcastle, that surprise results against Liverpool, and another one this weekend, pleasantly enough for us here in the studio. They came up against a Spurs side that were unbeaten in 14 since the opening day of the season. But despite going 1-0 down thanks to an Eric Dyer header, 2 goals from substitutes Mitrovic and Perez gave Newcastle and Steve McLaren another much-needed 3 points. Tremendous result, tremendous second half performance from Newcastle. Pavel, seems only fair, you are our special guest this week. Let's start with you. How impressed were you with that display from Newcastle?
You know, I have to say, because I do the columns every Friday, you know, for the newspapers, and we was actually talking about the Liverpool game and the Tottenham game now, and fantastic, because, you know, 2 weeks before the situation for Newcastle doesn't look too good. Looks definitely relegation, you know, because obviously with the things where they've been. Last 2 performances, you would say, you know, this is team cannot go down, you know, and everybody really surprised with you know, the work, the quality of the players, how they approach the game and everything, you know. So it's been really fantastic, and you know, you have to give the credit to Steve McLaren. He put the 2 men on the field and then scored both goals, you know. So good. Very good, that's more.
Big word there that I'm picking up on, surprise. It's surprised to see it against Liverpool, surprised to see it against Spurs.
Yeah. Where's
it come from, Tom, do you believe? Where has this sudden turnaround come from? Is it the fact that the pressure is off Newcastle slightly?
The manager has took a look at what he needs to do, and I think he's got his formation spot on. I think the 2 holding midfield players have been superb. Colback and Nita, I think they're starting everything. They're protecting the back 4. I thought Dummett's been fantastic, and I think the manager's just got them all together and said, look, we've got to graft, got to work hard, and we've got to not concede. And they're doing exceptionally well on the defensive side, and I think that when you're doing well in defensive, you always got a chance. But the manager takes great credit for me, because they were down and out, and he's got them playing for him.
Mark, we're going to come on to individual performance in a little bit, but the team performance, especially in that second half, really smacked, like Pavel just said, of a team that they're not going to be threatened by relegation.
No, they won't be, and I think McLaren deserves a lot of credit, because he made a little subtle change at half-time where he's made Newcastle play 10 yards further up the pitch, put a bit of a high press on Tottenham, not give them time on the ball, playing with a higher energy, and thoroughly deserved the win. The substitutes obviously will get a lot of credit, but I thought Srnicek Bemba at centre-back was outstanding for 90 minutes. Easily his best performance in a Newcastle shirt, and It was a win that was hard earned. It could have been a bit easier, I think, if they'd have put a 90-minute performance in rather than just a half. But the players and the manager deserve a lot of credit.
Plenty of impressive performances, but one perhaps head and shoulders above the rest. And Pavel, I have to come to you about this performance. Rob Elliott in Newcastle's goal. A string of tremendous saves that kept Newcastle just about in it. How did you assess his performance on Sunday?
I have to say, when team gets injured, everybody was worried about replacement, and I was also calling about it. I think the club like Newcastle United needed 3 as good as the goalkeepers in the team is, because if you want to compete with the best on that post, you need 3 good goalkeepers, very good goalkeepers. I know it would cost more money to the club, but in case happens something what happened to Tim. Elliott nearly was injured as well, nearly didn't play either. I think week after he played the first game, and he was outstanding in Bournemouth as well. What I remember, man of the match as well. They won 1-0, 20 shots on the target. Newcastle win. That's the football sometimes, And obviously, last performance against Tottenham, fantastic game. Make a couple of 2 or 3 great saves. Like the saves, we would say winning saves because keep you in a game. And people talking about if will be the case he keep the plays or team coming back or not. I think it's a little bit too early to talk about it because he's been playing only a few games. I think give the lad a run a bit longer because obviously Tim is still another 2-3 months away from the fitness, to be fit.
How much do you actually rate Rob Elliott as a goalkeeper? What is the most outstanding attribute of him? Because it seems to me that his shot-stopping abilities, reflexes are probably right up there, but his mentality has to be up there as well, doesn't it?
The most important things for a goalkeeper is the position. It's the position for the crosses, for the shots, for everything. Because if you have the position a little bit wrong, you have no chance, which is same thing happened, I think, last night, the Tottenham goalkeeper, because he was out of the position when he conceded goal.
Which is very rare for Hugo Lloris as well.
Exactly. So, then probably that's where Elliott, that's his, strongest point, the position in the goal.
Well, we're just glad to see him in the right position at the right time numerous times on Sunday from a Newcastle United perspective. We've talked Rob Elliott. Tom, let's move across further up the pitch. Substitutions-wise, Mitrovic and Perez. Cisse seemed to be doing an all right job in that first half, but as soon as Mitrovic and Perez came on, changed the game completely.
I think just legs. I think De Jong had a good game in that hole. He just played in front of the 2 midfield players and he worked really well. He's obviously lacking fitness. And again, the manager's got to take great credit because he could have, they're doing well. They could have snatched a draw with the players he had in the park, but he actually did well to bring them both on, and they were both outstanding. 2 young players, I think 21 and 20, something like that, and the enthusiasm that they showed, they got what going forward, and they put pressure on Tottenham, and Tottenham are just going back over. I think Mark was spot on that Newcastle played 10 yards higher up, and it got them both in the game, and they both scored 2 great goals. The
Newcastle fans were straight on social media, on Twitter. There's some tweets flashing up on your screen now, including one from a certain Gary Lineker. I know we've talked about predictions on this show before, but even the great Gary Lineker did not predict a Newcastle win against Spurs, so you can rest easy tonight, chaps. Very, very quickly, let's look ahead at the weekend. Excellent win against Liverpool, excellent win against Spurs, but does that really matter, Pavel, unless they can actually back it up with a win against a pretty woeful Aston Villa side this season?
Look, for me it's the must-win situation, because if you win, you pull away from the Villa definitely. And even we won last 2 games, but still have to produce the points and performances because it's still the battle for relegation at the moment is still there. It's only 2 points different. So, the Villa game is for me must-win situation because very important. And I hope Newcastle goes there like a favourite, play at home, the team which is bottom, and doesn't take many points. So I hope the Newcastle will be the same, doesn't lose any points, winning, and win with a flair. Win with a great performance. So everybody will be happy. Go home. Like I said, maybe not many times Newcastle fans had this over the few seasons, but maybe this is the time when this thing's coming back again.
I suppose this is where as well the pressure comes in, that litmus test of pressure. They've done well against Liverpool and Spurs, 2 sides that they weren't expected to do well against. Now it's really a case of whether they can see those relegation contenders as well. This is a dreaded part of the show, of course, gents. You know what's coming. Predictions Come on. We weren't too bad last week. It was better than the Liverpool predictions for certain. And we haven't brought back the predictions from last week. But, Tom, let's start with you. How do you think they're going to fare against Villa? You know the drill. Scores.
2-0. 2-0 Newcastle.
2-0 Newcastle. I'll come to you last, Pavel. It's only fair with you being our special guest, Mark. Grinning away.
If Newcastle get an early goal with the confidence, I can see it being a 3 or 4-1.
3 or 4-1?
If they get an early goal, and if with the confidence flowing, Wijnaldum getting on the ball and dictating, I think Newcastle could win comfortably, but they have to get that early goal.
This is why we keep you coming back on the show. I love that positivity ebbing through you. Pavel, finally yourself, what's your prediction for the weekend?
3-1.
3-1?
Yes.
Excellent. A clean sweep. We're going to have you back, Pavel.
Oh, good. Hopefully.
Well, if they win. If they don't, you're not coming back.
Right.
As you can see, you can always get in touch with us on Twitter. Do you agree with the gents? Do you disagree? Send us your own score predictions. We're at Footy Matters TV on Twitter. But that is going to have to do us as far as Newcastle are concerned. But coming up after the break, we focus on Wearside and Sunderland. Could they go and claim 3 more points against Watford? We'll see you back here in a few minutes on Football Matters. Hello there, welcome back to Football Matters. Right then, let's kick part 2 off on the red and white side of the river. Sunderland were coming into the Saturday game against Watford pretty high on confidence despite that defeat against Arsenal, but a very, very encouraging display from the Black Cats. Unfortunately, a 3rd minute Odion Ighalo goal gave Watford a lead that they never really squandered. 1-0 win for the Hornets. Sunderland, unfortunately, back in the relegation zone. But we are a positive bunch on Football Matters. Every week. Mark, it wasn't one of those that should have really been a loss for Sunderland, was it?
Difference was the strikers. Ighalo and Tyne worked hard, took the chance, so Ighalo took his chance and probably should have had another couple. He's been the find of the season for me, Ighalo. He's obviously, he's got good pedigree playing where he has, but he's come to the Premier League and it's been such a surprise. But you look at Sunderland, Defoe had chances. Barini had a great chance when he broke in right-hand side of the area, and that's a difference. Sunderland probably did deserve a point, if we're honest. But if you don't take your chances, you don't win games. It's simple as that. It's a horrible cliche, and I know we try and avoid cliches, but it is true. It is true, and eventually Sunderland are going to have to start taking chances, or Sam Allardyce is going to have to look in the transfer market, and someone like a Charlie Austin, who's a QPR is apparently available, would be ideal for Sunderland. But if he's going to work with what he's working with at the moment, he's going to have to do some shooting training, I think, with the 3 of them.
Down to missing chances, but also down to a pretty slow start as well, Pavel. One that Allardyce was remonstrating with at the final whistle. He was very, very angry about the fact they conceded so early on. How much of that defeat was actually down to the fact that Sunderland were pretty sluggish at the start? Yeah,
but also you conceded early, but you have still plenty of time to, recover it from it. So, but like like mentioned, they lost too many chances, and then, but the positive side on that, because you always want to take the positive side from the bad things, then they produced the chances. That's the first big step, because, for example, Newcastle a few weeks ago haven't even produced any chances. Okay, so they are back as well on track. They produce the chances, doesn't score. But then it's the manager, Sam Allardyce, maybe tactical things when we're going to start to do it on a training ground and then produce on a Sunday. Yeah.
Can you understand from a managerial perspective, Tom, why Sam Allardyce was, I think the word was dumbfounded with the fact that they didn't get anything?
He played his 5 at the back, the formation that's been good over the last 4 games. And he's a good manager, because after 20 minutes he's changed it. He went to 4 at the back. Took the right back off and brought a midfield player on, and they played better from there. So it is a manager, he's probably looking at himself and thinking, well, I made the wrong choice to start the game, and they probably would have still been in the game, but it's all if buts and maybes. I think the thing about Allardyce is he knows his best lineup. He's got to stick with it, because Defoe will not miss chances out again. He'll probably go on and score another 3 or 4 goals in the next couple of games. So I think he's got to be strong, and he will be. And he'll keep faith with his side. They've been playing well, and they played well against Watford. But Watford's a good side. The 2 forwards at Watford are very, very sharp, very strong, and they held on to it. And Watford could have scored a few goals as well. So it was a great game of football. But I think Allardyce is experienced enough just to know it's just a hiccup, And I think the shot across the bows was that we probably need some forwards in.
Yeah.
And I think that's a shake-up for the forwards he's got. So I think he's break that way to do that on the TV, you know.
And just on that subject, and especially the starting lineup that Allardyce did go with, struck me that there were a couple of, not passengers, but rather ineffectual players in there. The likes of Tyne wasn't really up to his best. Barini we've already mentioned as well. Sunderland can't afford to have two largely ineffectual players in the side, can they, man?
The thing you're talking about there, though, is two players who haven't really had decent pre-seasons, and they certainly haven't had Allardyce pre-seasons, or they haven't had a lot of time with Sunderland. Toivonen's a very good player. You know, he didn't have the greatest impact at Rennes, but was very good when he played in Holland. Barini hasn't really played consistently for 2.5 years now, and granted he played at Sunderland when he was on loan. Before that he wasn't playing at Liverpool. So it's going to take them time to get used to playing again regularly, and the only way they'll do that is by playing. So it's a bit of a catch-22 for Allardyce. I do think he needs to make big changes in January. Not necessarily in terms of numbers, just they may need to spend a little bit of money to get some, like I said before, the likes of Austin. I still think he needs a centre-back with a bit of pace, and arguably another midfielder who's a little bit more creative than what he's got. But they have got the makings of a decent squad there. But it's a big January for Sunderland.
Like me from the outside, seems like the Northeast clubs have the same problems, you know. You know, and
we have a lot more problems.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you know what I mean. It's just when I'm hearing this from the different sides, it's just both clubs have the same problems, you know. Can't score the goals. Now all of a sudden they keep the same team. The one start performing chances, one started winning. So hopefully it will be same for exactly. So
it's a nightmare to predict every week.
It is. But you know, but I only hope, because of the Northeast of England, I hope all of the Northeast clubs will do it well.
We do as well. It is that very, very interesting point on consistency as well. I mean, you know, you look at Newcastle side earlier on in the season, Sunderland side earlier on in the season, they were chopping, changing a lot. Now they've got a settled side, Tom. It's starting to think that relegation zone might actually be just creeping further and further away.
I think Newcastle's got the back four right. I think it's a massive thing. I think Sunderland are playing a five is okay to get your results when you're going through a bad time. I think now they need to play a back four and have a creative midfield player in the four midfield. And they've got some good players. I think Sunderland will be okay, to be honest. Like, he just needs to score goals. And I think Defoe, if you want somebody to score goals, Defoe's the man. And he's probably in the top 5 strikers in the country, to be honest.
But who'd you play alongside Defoe? Would you play a Fletcher alongside him? Would you bring Watmore back in alongside him?
Defoe's played up front by himself a lot, and I would play a creative player just behind him, like a number 10 just behind him, just to slot him in, because Defoe doesn't bring people into the game. He plays down the channel of the inside the full-backs all the time. He's very sharp. And I think it's hard to play a striker with him, because Defoe's going to do his own stuff. So I think you need to play somebody just off him to create the chances for Defoe. But Defoe, if you've got Defoe, you say you're going to score goals, you know.
I'll play Watmore from here. I'll play him just off in a number 10 or out wide, because he gives an energy, he gives an enthusiasm. And again, a bit like Ozil Perez, his movement creates space, and if Defoe's given space, as Tom says, he will.
Pressure on a young lad, but isn't it? In a relegation fight, I think Mark's spot on. I think Watmore's done exceptionally well, but we know when you bring young lads and you've got to give them a bit of a break now and then. And I think Mark's right, but I think an experienced number 10 in there who can play a bit would be the answer for me. Like.
Well, a bid goes in for Lionel Messi, we shall see, for Sunderland January transfer window. He's already signed a pre-contract agreement. Fantastic. Well, you heard it here first, Messi to Blythe and all of that. We'll come into silly season in a few weeks' time. There's one for your column there, Pavel, anyway. Listen, let's look ahead to the next game. Let's see if he plays Defoe on his own. Let's see if he plays Barini alongside Watmore, because it is, and I never thought I'd be saying this season on Football Matters, it is a relegation. 6 points are surely up against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, but it's not the same Chelsea side that you would have feared in previous seasons, Mark.
No, but the worry is one of these days Chelsea are going to click, and if they click, it's going to be a tough one
against
for
the
Sunderland.
north-east side.
Yeah, probably. Chelsea will only do what they're doing for so long. Eventually, Fabregas will realise that he is one of the best midfielders in the country. Costa will stop trying to start fights with everyone and actually start scoring goals again. However, what Sunderland can do is go there, frustrate them, be disciplined, keep the crowd quiet, which, to be fair, they normally are at Chelsea anyway. Keep them quiet, get them frustrated, and then try and hit them on the break. And Sunderland do have a bit of pace in the side. Yedlin's got a lot, what Ozo said, and if they can create a chance and keep it tight, they've got a chance of getting something there. However, I think Chelsea will click. It might even start on Saturday, who knows.
Well, it's really interesting that you mentioned the words tight there, because Sam Allardyce, as we know, is very, very defensively disciplined, very, very defensively orientated. Pav, do you think Allardyce is kind of the perfect manager to go to Stamford Bridge and set up in that way?
That's what I want to mention. Don't forget last time, actually, Allardyce and Mourinho had a little something between them, you remember? Because Allardyce said he didn't like it if people criticize him on this. But what I think, maybe on the other hand, what you say, maybe that's the biggest opportunity of Sunderland to do something in Chelsea, because maybe if you're not a click this weekend for the Chelsea, that's maybe the biggest chance for Sunderland to think that's the best time coming to Chelsea and bring something back. You know what I mean? Because you will frustrate the Chelsea if you keep the back close and everything, and then let them frustrate the crowd and everything, because it's a natural situation, normal. If you don't score early, the fans get on your back. That's the natural thing, and it's the same in Chelsea now. Of course, nobody will ever think in Chelsea going to be 6-pointer for relegation, but it is at the moment. So that's what is nice about this Premier League football, So I think maybe this is for Sunderland the biggest chance, get something out of it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to predictions then. Tom, I hate starting with you every single time. You always have to set the stall. You might not this time around. Come on, predictions.
I think Chelsea 3-0.
Chelsea 3-0, that's the day they click. Pavel?
1-1.
1-1. Mark?
Chelsea 2-1.
Chelsea 2-1. Okay, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but we'll see how it goes come Saturday. All being well, Allardyce can be the man to inflict the defeat on Mourinho that sees Mourinho get the sack, but we'll wait and see with that one. That would kick it off on the touchline, wouldn't it? We'd love to see that up here in the North East. Anyway, we're also going to love to see a break coming into Football Matters, but please do join us again in a few minutes, where we focus on Blythe, and despite a blanket postponement right across the Northern League, we decide it's the right time to take a review of the season so far. We'll see you in a few minutes right back here on Football Matters. Hello there, welcome back to Football Matters. Right then, Premier League focused on before the break. It's time to head into the lower leagues. And unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, but we haven't got any action to bring you this week. That's largely because of the blasted weather. Snow at the weekend, putting paid to many Evo Stick fixtures and the entire Northern League fixture list, unfortunately, and the FA Vars too. I was so looking forward to dissect that in the studio. But one game did go ahead. And one game was thankful. We were all thankful to see it go ahead at Blythe, who demolished Barwell 4-0. And I've got a very, very happy manager in Tom Wade sitting to my left-hand side. Fantastic result, fantastic performance, surely, Tom. Yeah,
the pitch has held up really well. We've had it, like with Peter Henderson's the groundsman at Blythe, and he's done a fantastic job. It rained all morning. We're down at the pitch at about 9 o'clock. And it didn't stop raining all game, to be honest. But it held up, and it was a fantastic game.
Pavel, I want to talk to you, and I'm not going to talk to you about Blythe, I'm going to talk to you about how you prepare as a footballer for the potential of a game like that being postponed. What do you do as a footballer?
I think you do the same thing like if it's normal weather. But I mean, obviously, you change the studs, because that's, so take you a little bit longer to take it to the biggest one, obviously. But the rest of the thing, it's the same. Obviously, for the goalkeepers, it's a different, because you have to prepare, you have to, be aware of it, if there's water, just the slides, a little bit more different things. For the goalkeeper, it's much harder than for the players, because any shot, it's a danger, in this weather. So, but a part of this, you obviously prepare same like your usual games.
Definitely goalkeepers union on this show now, and by the sounds of it, we're already preparing for more bad weather upstairs with the tables going on. Mark, Blythe, like we've said with Tom, extremely impressive, still top as well in the league.
They are, and one thing Tom probably won't say about our world is the fact that Blythe haven't spent a lot of money. People seem to think they've got this cup money from last season and they've gone out and blown a budget on it. And he hasn't. They brought in a young group of players. They brought in players from the Northern League to give them a chance. There's other teams in that league who've got a budget that far outreaches what Blythe have got. So the job that Tom and Lee Picton and now Tony Norman have done is fantastic. It's a young squad with the odd experienced players like Stephen Turnbull, Robbie Dale obviously, but there's young players there who are growing into men, and that's what I found in my time at the club, and it's carrying on now. It's fantastic to see, and it's gone right against an egoistic policy of spending a lot of money on players that maybe outspends what clubs can bring in. But Blythe have got a challenge ahead of them now. In February, you're going to find that Darlington will put money in, Salford will put money in, and I hope that the board will back Tom if he wants to play it to take them to the next level, because they may well need it. However, the squad at the moment is doing fantastically well.
That is indeed a ringing endorsement from Mark there in terms of Blythe, and long may it continue. Now, as I mentioned before, unfortunately Blythe was the only game that went ahead at that level. FA Vars fixtures called off, Northern League fixtures called off, so we thought it might be a best time to actually look back at the season so far with the league tables. But as ever, we like to see some fine strikes on this show, and we've put together a compilation of the finest so far this season. So without further ado, enjoy. Alright, so some fine goals, as you can see, in the Northern League, but let's look at the league tables as they stand in December, starting off with Division 1. Mark, let's turn to you first. Bit of a two-horse title race at the top of Division 1. We've talked about this before, Shildon and Morpeth. Can you see any other team making an impact on that or not?
Nope. Next question.
This is going to be a very short show this week.
For me, Morpeth are the story of the season in the Northern League. No one expected them to be where they are. However, maybe we should have, because they've got some very, very good players. Ben Sayre, a player Tom knows from his time at Blythe. Got Keith Graydon, who's got plenty of experience in there up front. That really dangerous, have plenty of power and pace up there, and they've got a decent defence as well. So maybe we shouldn't be as surprised. I just hope they can carry it on, because it's a wonderful story. And a one that could develop into one of the biggest surprises in the Northern League. I mean, Marsk obviously was a surprise, and I think Morpeth would equal, if maybe even surpass that. Shildon rely on a lot of experiences. There's a load of experience in that squad, and that will come into play when the pressure starts building towards the end of the season. Whether or not they can pull it back, I'm not sure, but it's going to be an exciting last few months of the season. And
possibly Morpeth boosted as well. I was speaking to Nick Gray, the manager, a couple of weeks ago, and he did say that there might be further signings at Morpeth, just to boost a threadbare squad. That could be absolutely key, couldn't it, Tom, into the title?
They've signed Chris from Whitley Bay, who's a good player. Yeah. Adam is a youngster. And they've just brought in a lad from Poland who was at Morpeth about 4 years ago. Yeah. I'm not mentioning his name because I can't pronounce it, but he's...
Could help you if you give me the little key.
Just write it down. Someone got a pen somewhere.
But he's a good player. He was playing pro in the Polish second division. He's come back in. Ken had him, like I say, about 4 or 5 years ago. He went back to do his national service, and he's back again now, and he's a good player. So that's two good signs from Morpeth. Yeah. I've got a little feeling about Dunstan. I know Pavel knows a bit about Dunstan, but Dunstan, they've signed some decent players. Steve Bowie's went there, who's a very experienced player, and they're just slowly, I think they're third now in the league. They've played a few more games than anybody else, but they're not a bad side actually when they get his starting 11 out. So I think Dunstan, have a look at them.
Go on then, Pavel. I know your knowledge of Northern League football isn't right up there with these two absolute experts either side of you. It's a bit daunting, but could Dunstan do it? Could they win the league?
Yes, they can.
Excellent. See, that's all we needed from you in this part. That's all we need. We're going to talk about your book in part 4 anyway. We've talked teams. Let's talk performances. Mark, you watch a lot of Northern League football. You watch a lot of football in general, more than any man I know. But what has been the finest game for you so far this season in Division 1? That's a real tough.
Too hard to call. I've seen a lot of games this season, but off the top of my head, I enjoyed Dunstan against Shildon. Actually, there was only one goal in it.
There you go.
Dunstan got beat mine. Oh, no. But I enjoyed it. It was I hate saying this, but a proper game of football. It was two committed sides trying to play football the right way. It was a last-minute winner from a penalty, which sounds like a dull game, but it was just two sides trying to get the ball down on a very rainy Wednesday night. But it was a game of football that I sat there and thought, I paid £6 to get in, £5, whatever it was, and I've got my money's worth. It was brilliant to watch. But I'm sure it'll be surpassed before the end of the season.
Well, we hope so. I would love to think so. Okay, Tom, the hardest question is for you. Player of the season so far. We've talked to the Shildon and Morpeth players in particular, but is there anyone from one of the lower sides who's really stood out for you?
I like young Kempstows at Whitley Beer, the winger. I think he's a very good player. And Morpeth, Sean Taylor's a brilliant player. I think he's a guy who can play a lot higher. And Ben Sears, we had him at Blythe when he got released from Newcastle. He went to Ashton and he come to Blythe, and he was just a little bit too ephemeral at the time for Blythe. He's a fantastic footballer, but he's used the academy games and he's come into the man's game, and I think he's struggled a little bit. But I've seen him 3 or 4 times, and for me he's a stand-up player in the Northern League. I think he's absolutely outstanding. Okay, that's Division 1. Division 2. Here's the league table for you. Is there any real point in debating who are going to be the champions? I'm going to go to you, Mark, because we've had chats about South Shields before, and we've had a few chats on social media about South Shields as well. Less said about that one, the better. But it's got to be them for the title and promotion, hasn't it?
Yeah, simple as that. Yeah, I think
you can go now, Tom.
I think they'll have the title wrapped up by early March, and it might benefit them in the FA Vars. They might be able to run the Vars because of that. What they've done, and again, I took some criticism at the start of the season. Their approach to signing players just looked a bit all over the place at that time. Yeah. But they've put together a squad of very, very capable players, and they've got a way of playing that is going to get them out of the division, and it'll help them settle in the first division as well. I really think that John King and Gary Middleton have now got a set of players that they want. Yeah. They've got the backing of a brilliant fan base who are clearly committed to what is going on at the club, and the attendances are fantastic, and it's a bandwagon now, and it's one that is going to carry on going, and that momentum, it'll be frightening for teams. It really will.
Regrettably, we don't actually have time to talk about the players, etc. I do want to very, very quickly touch upon the FA Vars draw, though. As when this goes out, you will know who's playing who, because obviously the replays are being played on Tuesday night. What are the ties of the rounds for you? Tom, I have a feeling I know where you're going with this one. Yeah,
Morpeth and Shields, and then you've got, I think Newton Aycliffe's got a decent draw as well. I think Newton Aycliffe could be a dark horse. They've got some really good players. Paul Dixon's got he's got a side together which might cause a few upsets. Yeah. Morpeth and South Shields. I like both clubs, but Ken Beattie, the chairman of Morpeth's a fantastic bloke, and he's looked after Morpeth Town for a lot of years now. And for sentimental value, you hope Morpeth do it. But I wouldn't be surprised if South Shields beat them, to be honest.
Okay, well, only time will tell. We shall see. Right then, time for a quick break, but plenty coming up in part 4. We're even going to hear from Pavel, that's for certain, on his new book coming out. But there's far more than just that. We hear from the Sunderland juniors, who are rather determined to spread a bit of festive cheer.
We're getting the new under-8s through, they're contributing into the under-8s toy appeal, so next year maybe we'll do something as a club, make it a lot bigger than what it is now.
And of course, as well as talking to this man about his new book, we also look at the results of November's Goal of the Month. See you in a few. Hello there, welcome back to the fourth and, regrettably, I always say this, the final part of this week's Football Matters. Right then, let's start with a bit of a roundup of all of the news in the past week, and one story really caught my eye. We're of course approaching the festive season, and one young side in Sunderland have been doing a lot of giving and not much receiving this past week. They've been visiting the Sunderland Royal Hospital to donate presents that they've bought themselves, and I went along to meet them earlier on in the week. A kickabout and Christmas, they go pretty well together, and that's certainly the case with these youngsters at Sunderland City Juniors Football Club. The under-9s came together a few weeks ago and decided they were going to help local children less well off than themselves by donating presents to them. They take the gifts to Sunderland's Royal Hospital tomorrow, and manager Kristen Whitfield is delighted that the boys are getting right into the festive spirit.
So I had a word with the parents and they were more than happy to do it. We got together, parents have donated presents, the boys have bought presents out of their own money, I've bought presents out of my own pocket. I was on last night wrapping the presents actually, and we've actually got over 150 presents to take to the hospital for Sunderland Royal for the children. We're going to be going on the 3 wards, on the children's ward.
How surprised are you that, the idea has come from the kids so young this year?
It was amazing. I couldn't believe it when they asked to do it. It was like, well, do it. If they want to make these kids Christmas, they know obviously about being poorly. They've obviously been poorly themselves and realise that's not a nice thing, so they come into this time of the year, the Christmas period. Children are stuck in hospital, parents are stuck in hospital with the kids. They just asked if they could just do it, and I just thought, well, we'll go to Sunderland Royal, it's our local.
Well, let's hope there's a few gifts being handed out to the Sunderland senior team as well this weekend as they take on Chelsea. Right then, fantastic to meet the young'uns. Let's get on to what I believe might be the best part of this show. We'll wait and see how it turns out. He is our special guest, of course, Pavel Srnicek, and we thought it might be best to grill him about this thing. He's only gone and brought out his book. Pavel, I'm sure you're all right with us talking questions to you here? Yeah, good, excellent. We were going to anyway. First and foremost, tell us a little bit about this book. Pavel is a Geordie. Where did the title come from in the first place?
Obviously, you all probably know the story about the T-shirt and everything. When Lee Clark brought me this in, and actually when I first time get that T-shirt, I didn't know what is on. I just left it on the seat and I went to play the game. Then I come back to the dressing room and Lee told me, "Pav, put that on." So when I put that on, then I saw the Pavel is a Geordie. That's where the story come from. Then I walked out and then everybody, because even without that T-shirt, everybody, all the crowd after the games shout Pavel is a Geordie. So that's why somebody come up with this idea, just give me that T-shirt and just walk away. So that's why this, probably the name of the book coming like this.
Okay. What was your favourite part of writing this book? Because I imagine, it's fairly thick. I imagine there's quite a few favourites in there.
It's difficult to say what is the best part of it because, like with the book, there is some controversy and, some people will like it, some people don't, Oh,
don't worry, we're coming on to the controversy.
Yeah, so, obviously, there is the Game 4-3, which is the game of the century. People talk about it and everything. But the people could read what happened actually just before the kickoff, between me and Kevin. So nothing affected the game or affected my performance on that day, So this is probably would be the highlight because that was the season when we lost the title 12 points clear of the Man United, and then this could be probably one of the important game, maybe more important than any others because if we won there, we still was in the title race, but didn't happen. So this could be the one.
Like you say, a fair bit of controversy in the book, and you mentioned Kevin Keegan there. You'd never heard of Kevin Keegan before. Elaborate on that a little bit.
I have to apologise to Kevin, but
it's all right, I've heard he's an avid watcher of this show.
But I just come from from communist regime before, and then information wasn't that that much, so because everything was under control, what could be in a country, what cannot, from abroad. So, and I came to Newcastle, and obviously when Kevin first time came here, everybody was, oh, fantastic Kevin, and I just was sitting down thinking, well, would that, what, just thinking like this, because honestly, no disrespect to the man, but I didn't have a clue because I was that time I was 20 years old, didn't have much information, so. Kev, apologise again.
Okay, right. You've had my questions, which were relatively tame. As I gather, the 2 men flanking you do have their own questions as well. Mark, I think we'll start with you.
Yeah, you came over as a young goalkeeper from Ostrava and left a cult hero, and as you say, as a Geordie, an honorary Geordie. How much does that mean to you?
Means, whatever people think, honestly, means more than anything else because I said that in that book You know, because what happened to me here in Newcastle never happened to me in my country, for example. That's why the book is only launched here, not launched in Czech Republic, because people in Czech Republic never appreciated what I've done, but the fans in Newcastle, they appreciated more than anything. And I said that I felt like the win in the World Cup, because with what the fans gave it to me, I don't think so anybody else could get any more what I get from the fans here in the Northeast. That's why thanks for this. That's why I wrote this book now, for the fans to appreciate my appreciation to them.
Okay. Brilliant question from Mark, and he still has a fantastic collection of goalkeeper jerseys, as I'm aware. That's Tom's question. Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, it was the question I had. I was a season ticket holder at the time in Newcastle, and it was for me was the greatest time probably greatest football I've ever seen in Newcastle. But we had so many challenges as a goalkeeper, and you were a fan's firm favourite, and then you had people coming in trying to take your shirt all the time, and you always bounced back and won the shirt back. What was that like as a young lad being in Newcastle away from home, and the manager still keep on signing goalkeepers?
This was the thing. That's what I was thinking in the book as well. I think Kevin never likes me like the goalkeeper. Yeah. Maybe he likes me like a man, but he never likes me like a goalkeeper, because every pre-season he brought someone else. And the new one, and there was Shaka, there was Bradfield, there was Mike Hooper, you know, there was Tommy Ragos already when I came there, you know. And every season or every pre-season I have to fight with the goalkeepers again for the place, which is, I had it end of the season and I didn't have the biggest. Yeah. So, you know, it was really tough, really hard. But only one way how I could go through, just fight for it, you know. And also because I knew it, I had so many fans, you know, behind me. Which is, this is give you so much like spirit and so much believe in yourself, because like I say, you know, these days when I'm coaching in my goalkeepers, I always tell them, look, sometimes manager tells you what he thinks, but you have to listen what the players and the fans say as well, because sometimes you feel 9 of the 10 players want you in a goal, and one doesn't, but the manager is one who decided, but the manager think he doesn't want you. But you know, you have the 10 players who fight for you, or will be fight for you, you know, which is this great feeling. And I had this feeling with the fans, because I felt too many thousands fans is actually behind me.
Definitely.
Well, after all of that, no one's going to... Just to clarify, but after all of that, I don't think anyone really needs to go out and buy them after they've just heard all of that. Still should. Yeah, they definitely still should. Yes. You sell that, Pavel, anyway.
I think there's only a few copies left, so come on.
You did hear it here first. Go out and buy it yourselves. For us, we are going to head on to Goal of the Month. You've been voting again, a lot of you getting your votes in, and when all was said and done, the winner with a whopping 46% was Regan Linney from Bamber Bridge against Spennymoor. So, congratulations to him for winning that one. Slightly different that a team from Tyne and Weir hasn't won it, unfortunately, but, you know, it was a cracking strike. Gents, very, very quickly, Tom and Mark, you've both seen this. You didn't go for that one. Are you quite surprised?
No, I didn't go for it. I don't know how that's happened, but
it's all ball play.
Yeah, nothing to do with me.
Mark, you would have still stuck with Scott Heslop?
Yeah, it was a great finish. In a blustery wind to control a volley like that, to loop it over a goalkeeper who is a very good goalkeeper, was a very special finish, and I think he deserved to win. Okay, well that just about wraps us up, unfortunately, on Football Matters. Pavel, firstly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Best of luck with the book. We hope that we haven't put you off too much, that you will come back on the show sometime.
Yes, definitely, no problem.
Brilliant. I've said that kicking him under the table. I fear for my life as soon as these cameras are going to switch off, because he's a lot bigger than I am. But thank you very, very much, Pavel. Mark, Tom, pleasure as always. So, a win for Newcastle, a loss for Sunderland. We're hoping the Northern League fixtures get put back on, because as the festive season approaches, Santa Claus is coming. We're just hoping for a full fixture list as our present here on Football Matters. But from all of us here on the team, thanks for watching. Good night.